G'day and welcome back for more Space Engineers Survival. I'm going to start off today by grabbing a small load of ice using the ugly duckling, and the reason for that is I want to build the door that's going to cover the launch tube from the silo, and that means I'm going to be flying a lot, and I don't want to have to keep going back to the main base in order to fill up my hydrogen. I've got an oxygen generator on this base, so we may as well take advantage of it. And I can safely take the ugly duckling down to grab the ice because we won't have any drones coming from that direction. Woo! So I think it is the perfect vehicle for this. We can just grab a tiny little load. We really won't need very much. I could have just taken some of the ice that's in the base, but since I already had the ugly duckling out, it seemed to make more sense to just quickly grab something with it. If you were prone to betting, you could probably expect to make a decent payout on assuming that while building this door, I will die for the first time, since I'm going to be hovering way above the ground, and I'm going to have to keep an eye on my hydrogen the whole time while I'm designing something that's actually quite complex. We'll see how well we go. Hopefully I don't manage to kill myself. It would be embarrassing to do it in this situation, as I am prone to forgetting about hydrogen while I'm focused on designing stuff. Turns out I pretty much got exactly the amount I should have. If we hop in here and go to the O2 generator, I've left just enough room for the bottles to easily go in and out, which is going to make my life a bit easier. So, designing this entrance. The first thing I need to do is actually grind away the stuff that I put down here earlier, since the edge of the armor is going to show between any of the LCDs that I put on top. So I'm going to need to use these 2x1x1 tips since they don't have an edge. In fact, let's not use those. Let's use these. They don't have an edge. They provide enough support for the LCDs to sit on top of. I think they'll work nicely. The other advantage of them is they don't stick out the full width of the LCD, so I can kind of hide them a bit more easily. I did a bit of preparation before this episode in order to make sure that, one, my design works, and two, to check out what I could do with the lava patterning. And unfortunately, I can't really do the animations the way that I had hoped. The LCDs don't change their image frequently enough or consistently enough for me to animate the lava. But I have a plan that should work even better. And I will show you that when we get around to actually finishing off this door. But it definitely looks better than having just slightly moving lava images on LCDs. It is unfortunate that I couldn't manage to get them to change image consistently. You may be able to do it by scripts, I'm not sure. But I certainly couldn't just do it with the LCD's own image changing setting that it's got. Anything less than a second, and it tended to just not change the image at all. So let's place our LCDs around here and see what they look like from underneath as well. I need to try and get them right into these corners so that we've got the lava going all the way to the edge. Yeah, I think that's okay. They look supported enough. The challenge here is that we need to have the LCDs on the small grid that's going to be coming up as close to these as possible. So if I put anything more here, I'm just going to make the gap between them bigger. And because these come right to the edge of the block, I'm not going to be able to get the small LCDs to sit right in there. So I think this is the best I can really come up with. So what I've done is I have drilled out a small hole here in order to fit a rotor inside it. This rotor is going to be the one that actually moves the door, I guess, the cover out of the way and then back up. And you can see with a rotor all the way over here, this edge is quite a long way away, and we've got quite a strong lever arm against the force that the rotor can generate, which is why I've gone for a large rotor. If we use a large rotor, we've got a much better chance of actually being able to move this thing once we've put all of the LCDs on it and any other little bits and pieces that we want to put on there. So that's why I've gone for that. I've removed the cube that was in here, and it's because of this little problem. If I put this cube in here, and then I add some blocks to this, you'll see when I add that one, it pushes it and it puts it on an angle. However, if I do this, and I put a timer block in here, and we'll probably end up using some timers to make this door function properly, and I think that side of it looks interesting anyway. Its collision box is just ever so slightly smaller, and allows this to be placed neatly straight past. Now, you might be wondering why I care about that, and it's because if I get a cube to show up here, can I do it? There is somewhere I can actually get it to, there we go. You can see there's just the tiniest hint of the cube that's directly attached to the rotor showing beyond the ghost image of the large cube. And that means that this is pretty much lining myself up perfectly with where I want to be so that the LCDs can fit in this direction, so in the horizontal. So they'll line up nicely along this edge. So that's important. Next up, we need to be able to align for this edge, which means we don't actually want to have cubes all the way through here. What we want is a piston. And that'll allow us to do the adjustments we need so that everything will line up properly. Then we can just have, probably don't need more than that. Now we just need to come out far enough this way. I don't know why that's moving. I think I may have worked out why this rotor isn't working. It's because the power has gone out in the base, and I think I also know why that has happened. No. I set the ugly duckling to recharge when it docked, which was a bad idea. Battery recharge off. Thankfully, the ugly duckling actually rests on its connector, so we didn't lose it. But I have a relatively quick solution to this, which will be turn off the ugly duckling's thrusters and quickly weld up a new battery. This reminds me that I can't leave it too long before I have some method to recharge this base. Since right now it is just operating on the power that comes in the cells when you first place them. Yeah, fully depleted in 3 days. So if the ugly duckling isn't stealing the power, it should be fine. Okay, so we've got our rotor, we've got our little lever arm out there, we've got a piston along that section and a piston along this section. Let's weld some of this stuff up around here so that we can actually start manipulating things the way we want to, and to make sure we've got everything the right size. Now I've put this timer block in here so that we can start setting up the controls properly right at the start, and also because of its dimensions, mainly because of its dimensions. So for the rotor, what I want to do is set its maximum limits and minimum limits to 0 and -90, which is what I've done here. Then I want to make it push hard against the -90 so that it's in its final resting position while we figure out where to put the LCDs that are going to attach to this. What I'll do is I'll place a few light blocks on the end of this piston, and then we'll start aligning everything. And I think what we could do first is push this one out a little bit. I chose to use pistons here because they just give that fine adjustment that I want so that I can get this as close as possible to exactly where it needs to be. And that is a long way from it because that's only halfway through the block. Somewhere about there for now. We'll set these limits properly shortly. I just want to get a rough approximation before we go into the menu next time. So I feel like I got pretty close there. Let's push this up until... Oh, actually, let's wind back a little bit. Forgot to put the LCD on top of it. I think the LCD going there will be right. And we want to make sure that it's oriented the same way as the other ones. Conveniently, LCDs also have attachment points on their side, so we can just stick these all to themselves. If the rotor can handle it, I'm going to build some support structure on the back just so it looks supported. But if it can't manage it, then I'll just leave it be and just cope with the fact that it looks a bit flimsy. Now these LCDs are a slightly different size to the ones on the large grid. And if I could get my head around it, I would attempt to make a seamless texture that looks right on both, or that can be, or that I have two versions, one for the small, one for the large. But I can't get my head around that, and I don't think it matters all that much. I think it looks pretty decent even without it. Let's get up nice and close and see how much we need to move any of those pistons. As I said before, these can't line up perfectly to one another because of the way that they take up their entire grid space. Let's extend this back out and find its maximum distance. Oh, its maximum distance. Oh. Okay, it does pop past that. I wonder if I extend this just a little bit further, whether it'll stop doing that. So at this point, the way that I do these things is I just kind of fiddle until I'm happy that I'm pretty much as good as I'm going to get. And using build vision, I can just gradually adjust these things bit by bit. Now, we don't line up perfectly in that direction, and that's all controlled by the rotor. And it's that it's not pushing it out quite as far as we would want. Which is unfortunate because we can't make it push out any further. I could probably figure out a way to get a piston in there, but I've already built all this, and I think this is actually probably going to be good enough. What we need to do now is set the current extension of this piston as its maximum length. This piston is just going to be locked exactly where it is. I don't want to change it at all. And I'm also going to share inertia tensor with it. And same with this one. Making this a bit more rigid. So we'll set this one's maximum distance to 1.8. Set the speed to there. You can see there's a bit of a gap between these LCDs, and I can't really do anything about that. I'll just have to accept it. It's still, I think, going to look pretty decent at the end. Now, we need to rotate, we need to spin the rotor back to its resting position, and then figure out how far we can bring back that piston, this one just here. Because I don't want this door sticking way out in the middle like it is right now. It needs to come back as far as it can. What am I stuck on? Oh, I'm stuck on there. Dang it. There we go. Nice. What can I put in there that will look okay? I suppose I could line this whole thing with these if this is allowed in there. Nope, that's not allowed in there. Is it allowed the other way? Nope. What can I put? I'll just put another timer block. I'm sure I can use it somewhere. Now, instead of putting these timer blocks in here, you probably could have done some clever angles with armor here to move the piston out so that it rests outside the edge of this. But this works, so I'm just going to accept it as is. It's kind of good enough. Now let's move this back until it gets against the wall. Once it rests against the wall, that's where we'll find our minimum that's where we'll find our minimal setting. Nope, 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 nope. Bad, bad. Okay, somewhere around there it should be good. Let's just check that that's not taking up more than one cube space. Oh yeah, comfortably. Comfortably. Perfect. All right, let's set up this timer block, set up actions. We've got rotor, reverse, and we've got piston, and it'll be piston 2, reverse. So now if I go through and just make sure they've got decent velocities set on them. So velocity of this one set to 1.5, and the piston is set nice and slow, I think, which is what I want. Yep. Okay, so let's trigger now on the timer and see what happens. Oh yeah, she works. Very, very nice. Excellent. It is a bit weird that this isn't really centered, but it's kind of what we've ended up with. I certainly could have done something better over here, I think, but I guess we're sort of stuck with what I've done now. Can't really change it. I'm really disappointed that I didn't put this in here first, though. Would have been nice to put that on there. I guess I could get the block in there, because I would like to have something in here covering this bit of this gap. Like going there and then one more. I have an idea, and I think it's terrifying, but I think it's something we should do. I'm going to get the ugly duckling. It will bug me no end if I don't put this in now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the ugly duckling, I'm going to fly up and over, and then I'm going to use its landing gear to grab onto these panels. I'll then disconnect the rotor head from here, drop down low enough that I can place the block in, then bring it back up and lock it back down, and hopefully nothing will explode. So let's see what happens. Come on, give me a lock. This is just annoying. Had it? Ha! I've got a lock. Okay. I can use the LCDs. I was wondering how I was going to access the base. Rotor. And detach. Okay. Okay. We duckling control. Control. Let's drop down. Oops. Oh, this is going to be so awkward. I haven't cleared it anyway. Oh, I think I've just done something really, really dumb. Can I even get a view of what I'm trying to see? Okay, that looks good. Alright, let's get it in there. That's what I wanted. That's what all of this was for. Now let's see if we can get the ugly duckling back in position, because that might be a bigger challenge, as I cannot get a good view of what I'm trying to do. In fact, I'm going to make a light because I can't see over there at all. Okay, let's see if that's good enough. Fingers crossed. Rotor. Attach! Attached! Yeah! Unlock. Fly away. You only destroyed a couple of couple of interior plate. That's really all I destroyed then when I cooked those LCDs, since I hadn't put any more than that into those blocks. For which I am grateful. The lesson to be gained from what I just did then is, if you're going to do things to try and make them look good, make sure you think about it before you start messing around with large bits of rotors and stuff like that, as I just made that so much harder for myself than it ever needed to be. It should be fine for us to trigger this now. Get it all back into its resting position, which will allow us access up here to repair the damage I just did. Then it's going to be all about rebuilding the, well, not rebuilding, about building these LCDs. And I hope, is that the right way? No, it's not. They do need to be the correct way around. Alrighty, I'm going to jump ahead to when I've welded these up, and then I'm going to show you the little trick I have up my sleeve to make this look really impressive. Or at least I think it looks really impressive. There was a little something I did when I was just finishing these off that I thought was a whole lot of fun. And it's this. Whee! Jetpack on! Oh, that was close. Too much fun. Too much fun. Okay, we've got all of those done. So let's grab LCDs, get all of them, and we shall put a lava on them. Add to selection. Okie dokie, and let's call these the silo launch. Why can I not type launch today? Launch tube LCDs. Save. Show blocking terminal off. There we go. Now, let's fly back up. Let's have a look at that. Now this texture that I'm using is one that I found on Google when I searched for stuff that was royalty free and things. I didn't actually make it myself. I started making one myself and it just didn't look very good, so I found one that was free to use. And I think it looks pretty nice. Let's hop up to the top side and have a look at how this is going to look, and have a look at what it's going to appear like when it's closed. So let's close up the door. And there we go. So I mean, when you're very close you can see that edge, but it's still pretty subtle. And if I fly up higher, even though the scale is different, and if we get rid of that light inside it'll be even less obvious, I think that looks pretty awesome. I don't know. I certainly am very happy with how it's turned out. Even with the mismatch in texture dimensions. So, the thing I wanted to do that will make it work even better. That is, I'm going to put some damaged devices below it. And I have to open it so I can get through and then place them. Before I start figuring out how much bracing I can put on this without it breaking the rotor, I want to put the last little touch on this, and that is an oxygen-hydrogen generator, or at least a few of them. I want to put these in, and then I'm going to deliberately damage them to the point that they're going to burn. You can use a few different devices to produce flames, but if we have a look through the G menu at the items that can produce flames and produce big ones, the little hydrogen thrusters can't. The big ones can. The little hydrogen thrusters produce a little bit of flame, but I don't think that's quite what we need for a magma pool or a lava pool. It's just not quite enough. We want something bigger. So that'd be the large hydrogen thruster, and you can see it's got quite a lot of metal grids in it, which makes it heavy. We could also use Gatling turrets, and they're a reasonable option, but they're a bit big and bulky. I quite like that the oxygen hydrogen generator is quite small. It has very few components, so it's really light, so it kind of fits the bill in every way I want. If I build these up and then shoot them until they start flaming, we should get some smoke, some sparks, and some fire coming up from the lava pit, which I think is a very nice little effect. And I want to place them somewhat randomly so that they don't all, so that it doesn't look too regular. Maybe another one there. I think I can get away with 4. What happens if I put a 5th on? I think I'll just go with 4 and we'll see how this piston not the piston, how the rotor goes with holding all of this up. Do I have enough ammunition to do this? Let's hope. Oh, there we go, flaming. This is sort of wasteful, but I just think the effect is too cool to not do. If you are happy modding your world, I would totally get Rexar's mod that allows you to have effects. I'm trying to stick to my original mod list still, so I'm not going to be adding that. But if you are happy to add an extra mod, I would definitely recommend that as your way to go to get these sorts of effects on things. So I'll put one beam across there, another one across this way. You can sort of imagine these O2 generators as the thing that is as a device that's designed to mimic these effects. And so we've attached them to the back here because that's their purpose. That's the best sort of in-world role-playing excuse I can come up with for having these giant devices that are deliberately damaged. Okay, maybe we do one more row across here. All right, let's weld those up. And then let's have a look at this from the outside. Okay. It's too heavy. Oh dear. I need to get some stuff off. And I have got the rotor set to its absolute maximum force. So what it can tolerate here is all it can tolerate. There we go. Okay. So we definitely can't have that many beams on it. I'd rather keep an extra O2 generator than I would have more of these armor blocks on it. Let's just put a slope in there and a slope in there. And that'll do. We'll leave it at just that. I'm more worried about how this looks from the outside than the in. That is definitely my priority. Okay, let's land, and I might actually have a look at this with spectator cam because I think it could be cool to see just what it looks like. Where am I? Oh, there I am. All right. Look at that! It actually comes out the top! This is too cool! Look at that! Oh wait, why are there only two? Shouldn't there be more than... Shouldn't the... Oh, did I accidentally weld one of these up? You don't appear to be making anything. Fire, there you go, make fire. You, make fire. I want fire from everyone. Let's just make sure they are definitely damaged enough that they'll make fire. Okay, let's try that again. That was still cool. There we go. That's more like it. Now we got a bit of smoke and fire and brimstone and... Oh, yes. That is awesome. I know it's lighting up the edge of those LCDs, but that's just too cool. I think that's about as good as we can hope for. It's pretty awesome. I think if I paint it all black, it may not show up quite so much under those flames, which will work better. So let's do that. Okay, that's a quick paint job. I'll be doing a proper paint job throughout the base shortly. Well, maybe not shortly, but I will be doing one. There we go. Now that it's black, it's fine. You can't see the edge really at all. But I do just love the fact that the fire and the smoke actually makes it beyond the top. That is just too cool. Look at that. We have a volcano in Space Engineers. Yeah. And it's a missile silo, which is even cooler, I reckon. Oh, I'm so happy with how that turned out. This is so cool. This is screenshot worthy. This is thumbnail worthy. Oh, I'm so happy with how this worked out. It's so cool. Hopefully you guys are as impressed by how that worked out as I am. I am so happy with that end result. This door is pretty much exactly what I imagined it would be. It looks like a volcano. It hides the missile silo. It's just... I can't believe this worked out. I'm so happy. So very, very happy. I love it when these builds come together. So, because that's exactly what I wanted it to be, we've now got to make the rest of the silo exactly what I want it to be. Which means we're going to try something. I was suggested a few things after the last episode that I think are actually a pretty good idea. And that is to change up the color palette in this base a bit. Make everything a bit dirty, a bit grimy, rather than it all being pristine white. And I think the first thing we do is get a kind of a brownish light grey to replace all of the white. Now this is a time where it would be very handy if I had Meridius 9's paint replacer, color replacer blocks. So this will be the base coat, and then I'm going to do some fine adjustments around the place once we've made everything this kind of muddy grey. I'm also going to change the color of the lights elsewhere. Instead of having the lights be bluish, I'm going to go for a I have no better term to describe this, but a sickly green. And you'll see that that's probably going to make everything work a lot better. I've also got a complete revamp of this room planned. So let's get that underway first. All right. You can already see if I turn my lights off, this place feels a lot different. With everything being grey, the light just dips away that bit more. Unfortunately, I have an obsession with building things that have emissives on them. So you can see here, I'm looking up at the roof. There shouldn't really be any light up in there. But because of the emissives up there that are, and the ones that are near me, there's this general background glow. Which is unfortunate, but what are you going to do? So let's change this to green. Yeah, that's more spooky. And I might just deliberately make these ever so slightly different in their greenness, so that we have a bit of variability in the color throughout the base. Make it look like the globes were changed at different times. The other thing I want to try and figure out is using a pair of timers, if I can make a light flicker in a more random way. The trouble with setting up a flicker on most of these lights, and if I just grab any old light, we've only got a blink interval and a blink length. So we could make the blink length crazy short and the blink interval quite long, and then you'll have just this flick off that happens every now and then. But I think it'd be better if we have that happen more randomly. And I'm hoping I can use timer blocks to set that up. But you can see already this hallway looks better. Before we go on to build the new stuff, let's fix up what I plan to do in here. First of all, we're going to get rid of that. Should probably weld that up before I close this all up again. Get rid of that, get rid of that. And we are going to pop these along here. Get rid of this light. And that one. So, doing a total revamp of this roof, as I've got a much better idea of how to do this now. It often happens this way, that I'll do something one way and then realize that there is a better way of doing it after sitting and thinking about it for a little bit of time. Oh, I can use this to access the cargo. Nice. Should probably turn my lights on so we can all see. So then putting the vents all the way along to there, having a full cube. Yeah, full cube there. So now when we come through the door, we'll be covered over by these vents. We can, if we still walk over to here, see that all the way to the LCDs. But what we're also going to do here is add in these slopes. The reason I'm changing the whole roof here is that I agree with everyone who said that it didn't feel cramped enough. And instead of having the roof vaulted the way that I did, having it all coming towards this LCD being the highest point, I think will make it feel a lot more cramped. And then I'm also going to do a complete rearrangement of the furniture. And instead of having the stairs go off to the side, I'm going to have them come here. Now, those of you who pointed out that it seemed odd that you got to walk through the command and control center on your way to the break room, yeah, I agree with you, but I really don't want to have to go through the whole process of remaking and moving the whole room. So we're just going to live with it. We're going to live with the fact that it is weird. So now what I'm going to do with the stairs coming straight down here, I'm going to make a big U shape of consoles all the way around the edge of the room. Well, that's good to know. If I use the transformer boxes, they don't destroy power cells when I grind them down. That is a really handy little cheat. There we go. That's mostly what I had in mind. It does make it feel a bit more cramped having this roof straight over our head. So if we turn off our lights, you come in here and it's all pretty cramped now. The reason I haven't pushed any more ramps into the roof is I have one more thing I want to do. Well, two more things. I want to pop LCD panels all the way across. So on these side ones, we'll put up some other information, hopefully some moving data. So stuff like what we can get from M Master's automatic LCDs, that sort of information. And in the center of the room, we're also going to put in some pillars. This will make the roof feel heavier, I think. And there was a comment that said the same sort of thing, and I think anything that makes it look like the roof has to be supported makes it feel like there's a whole lot of weight above us. So having these interior pillars should create that effect. And I think it does it more than if we had extra slopes reaching out toward that wall. For lighting in here, let's just put a couple of, not in red, in our muted grey colour. A couple of lights either side of the stairs. Or should I put them against the wall here? Maybe I'll go against the wall. Oh no, I can't do that because of the transformer. And I don't want to put the transformer directly under the stairs because that feels weird. I kind of like the idea that it's off-centered. I could move the stairs though. Nah. Stairs in the center, because then the poles are on either side of the stairway, which creates easy access. Yeah. I think this is about what I was after. So with a few changes in here, I think we've created a space that feels much more fitting. With the muted greys, with the green lights, with the pressing down of the ceiling, I think this looks much better. I'm a lot happier with how this has turned out. So let's move on into our living quarters. Oh, I'm going to grab some med components. Okay, med components. Let's just finish that off because I wanted it to be finished. Oh, it's really dark. Let's pop a light in the corner there. So let's move this table over here so that we can pop a light in the corner over here. As don't really want the lights anywhere but the corners because that just feels weird. This feels bad. This feels like stuff is wrong and I like it. It's definitely the mood I was going for. We do have a coffee machine. We've got our fridge, which means I can recharge with the horrible chewing noise. Chewy, 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 chewy. Now, bathroom, toilet, whatever you want to call it. Turlet. Let's get one in here. Sadly, the minimum size for a toilet or a bathroom sort of setup is quite large because we need a 2.5 meter cube for each device. And we've got a toilet, we've got a sink. That's really all we need. It would be nice to put a mirror of some sort up, but that's not an option. If we put one door there, then go with a slab there, then another door there. From this one we could, yeah, that could work. Go toilet and another one in here, then another toilet there. Then we can actually just fill in these spaces. Oops, that's not what I wanted to place there. Fill in these spaces with full cubes. Like that. And out here, we can have a single light on the floor. Maybe two lights. We'll go two lights in here and then a sink in the middle. Yeah. I think that works. So we'll have those doors. These lights, we'll just have to make sure that their range is big enough that they actually light inside the cubicle. And then over the top of them, we'll just have these vents continuing over each cubicle. I think that'll be a decent little compact toilet, or at least as compact as I can do in Space Engineers. Cool. Welding time. Okay. We have a bathroom. When we close these doors, we have privacy. Do. Recharging on the toilet. And out we come. I don't think the sink works. Nope. Oh well. Still cool. Still very cool. Alright, first toilet done. Now, what were the other rooms I wanted to do? I wanted to do a barracks, and we'll need a like shower block off that. I kind of envisaged this as a bit of a corporate facility. Militarized, yes, but not formal military, which is why it's got the fairly lax design standards and that sort of thing. So it's not really about what a commander would have or would expect in the military. More what is cheap enough that the managers signed off on. And going along with that sort of story, that's why the engineers that work here have managed to cobble together from parts a working arcade machine for Space Invaders. And, you know, management look the other way for that sort of stuff because it keeps everyone calm. So we go 1 bed, 2 bed, 3 and 4. So with 8 bunks. Then on the other side of the bunks we can put in some lockers. And I hope I'll be able to get away with just putting a couple of lights at the top end here. And then the rest of it can be filled in. Should work out reasonably well, I think. Yeah, that feels like a nice little tight bunk space. Then, showers. I think just a pair of showers and a sink will probably do the trick. Since this is a small facility, they don't really have a need to have toilets in there as well as toilets over here. I just didn't think it'd make sense for them to walk all the way from the control room through their sleeping quarters and into the toilets. Though really, let's be honest, I don't think anything I've done in the design of this base really makes sense if you think about it enough. So let's try not to. Because I should have planned it out, drawn it out, rather than just trying to picture it all in my head, which is how I came up with the layout, because it has not worked quite as well as I had hoped. I'm happy with the appearance of it. It's just the alignment of some things with other things just hasn't worked out quite right. Oh, we need a little storage room. Although we've got this whole corridor, I guess. Probably don't need a storage room. Yeah, probably not, actually. Yeah, I might just go 1 shower there, 1 shower there, and call that it. You don't really need a basin if there's showers in there. And if there's only showers in there, especially. So if I wall up there, then vent, vent, vent. We'll have the middle block free for lighting. Vents go through to there. And on to here. I hate when I accidentally hit the wrong thing and I don't place cubes when I think I am. It's like the Goose's parking area blueprint all over again. Okay. It's really hard to get up those. Let's leave this one out of the way so that I can still get up here, because I have to do all the lighting up here as well, which is going to be fun. Alright, welding time! So with these bunk beds, I've kind of run into a little bit of a problem. There's no room on the top bunk. Like, absolutely none at all. I can't imagine anyone sleeping in that tiny little gap. You'd almost rub your nose on the block above you. So, whoops, not what I wanted to do. I'm tossing up between trying to loft the ceiling up a bit, or, where are they? Using these single beds. These ones look a bit too fancy in some ways. The bunks make it all feel very, they've done this in the cheapest way possible, which I suppose if your nose is rubbing on the ceiling, you definitely believe. What should I do? What should I do? I do prefer the bunk beds, but if I can get the look of this being a bit of a crowded bunk room with the single beds, I think that might work better. Because I'm not sold on these ones. Maybe they are better. Maybe they are the better option. Where's that? Let's go yellow. You know what? these are the better option. I think these are the better option. I tend not to use these on bases so much because they feel more like a spaceship type bunk. But given the problem of the other bank being so close to the roof, I think they are definitely going to be the better option of what we've got. Plus, if I place them in like this, it creates a very cramped little corridor that we can walk down, but is incredibly tight, which is, again, fitting with all of the feelings we're going for in this base, which is perfect. In case you hadn't noticed previously, I really do enjoy doing this sort of interior design type thing with my bases. So, although I'm being somewhat indecisive at times, it is something that, oh, yeah, that's a better way. Let's see what I mean? Let's put the light in there and let's put the shelf in here. Nope. Nope, bad idea. Back how we were. Oh man, walking around in this green is so unpleasant, but it really does get the feeling right. I'm quite happy with how this has turned out. We've got our little break room, we've got our bunk room. We do have to fill in that hole in the roof, and I've got to do the interior walls around the vents and the lighting in the vents, but just thought I'd show you what it's looked like now. We've got our shower room in here. I think this has worked out pretty well. Out to here, and I've got some good ideas for things that we can put out here. Some really great suggestions, and I'm actually going to do some small block design to create some little pallets so that we can have like a full pallet of warheads sitting here ready to be put into the missiles, that side of things. And of course we've got to put those turrets in. I don't think I'm going to put any turrets in here actually, as much as I kind of think that would be interesting. I think instead we'll just go with a single turret out here. And maybe if I eventually wanted to, I could redesign this section of the base so that we've got a ready room and then they hold the line here, protecting both the missiles and all of their sensitive equipment back in the back of the base. Alright, time to get in the vents. Spooky. Hopefully the lighting we've got now is what we're going to stick with. If we look up here, we can see that the vents are much darker. I painted them a bit darker. Then I've limited the range on these lights so that we just get a hint of them. I've also reduced the range on most of the floor lights so that we're in a bit more darkness than we were before. I'm quite happy with how this area's turned out. And if we come through here, you can see it's a bit dark over here in the corner of the kitchen. It's a bit dark as we go through into here. Is that intensity high? No, just always seems bright when I walk up to that one. Then we come through and I've made a small change to the bedroom. I've actually created a full space between the bunks. The reason for that was I couldn't actually get the lighting in here right. I had to expand this one out too much, which made everything very flat and uniform and boring, and I had to do this to change it. Oh, I forgot. I haven't painted those there. And there we go. Now we're painted. Much better. Now it's clear that the vent actually goes around. It was kind of looking funny. It looked like we just had a vent come in there and a vent come in here, which was weird. So we've got the lighting in here like that, and then straight round into our bathroom. So it's all a lot darker than it was, but I think it works. I think this is suitably creepy. I've tried to reduce the range of the lights up the top there as much as I can so that we don't spill down into these doors, but I may have to rearrange them another time to see if I can get them to have almost no spill, because they do still have a bit of a spill on the doors, which is unfortunate. I was trying to avoid it. But overall, I'm really happy with how this has turned out. I think this is the moodiest build I've ever put together, I must say. Normally I'm all like bright and happy and, cheery with my builds and making everything really easy to see, but I like how this has turned out. I really do. I think it looks like a rundown facility. Combining the suggestions I was given with what we started with, I'm really happy with how this has turned out. I'm quite happy with how the differently colored lights work out. When you're walking around and the light keeps changing, it's kind of unsettling, and that's exactly what I was going for. I'm going to come up with some images and some info to fill those side LCDs with, and I've also colored the lights out here, which I think works quite well. But really, the thing that I am most excited about, and I'm actually going to switch into spectator cam to look at this, is our volcano. How cool is that? That is just everything I was hoping for. Next time, we will get around to doing the extra bits of decoration in that corridor. I'm going to design a palette out of small blocks, and I've already got a design in mind, and it works reasonably well from when I tested it in creative mode, so hopefully we'll be able to fit a few of those in there to make it a bit more detailed. And then we can probably do some welding inside the main base, because this place will be basically done. It'll just need automations, which is really awesome. So there's all that and plenty more to come, and I'll see you then.